Now, before you start shouting about abortion and how we want to control your bodies and how I'm interested in your, believe me, ladies, I am not interested in your body. My wife's super hot. Okay. It turns out the only body part of yours that I'm interested in is the part that contains a baby. That's the part I'm interested in. I'm not interested in your esophagus. Right? I don't care about your kidneys. They're all yours. Enjoy. Okay, the part that I care about is the part that contains the baby, because that is not you, that is a baby. That is a different human. You don't get to kill different humans just because they are inside your body. Okay, as far as the wage gap, this is the big myth that you hear all the time. Women are paid 72 cents on the dollar. It's almost worthless debunking this because it's so easily debunked. My favorite instance of the debunking actually happened during this year's Super Bowl. I don't know how many of you saw the Audi commercial in this year's Super Bowl. So Audi ran this idiotic commercial. And the commercial was this little girl driving around in a go-kart. And there's this deep voiceover where her father presumably is saying something like, how am I ever going to tell my daughter that she is going to be living in a Mad Max hellscape for women? How am I possibly going to tell my daughter she'll never earn as much as a man just because she has a vagina? And then at the very end of the commercial, they get into an Audi, and presumably this fixes things somehow. It's like, she's still going to be victimized, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, but at least she once drove in an Audi. So people tweeted at Audi after this, and they said, well, Audi, you pay your female employees less than you pay your male employees. And Audi immediately tweeted back, well, actually, that's not true. We pay them exactly the same if you take into account the number of hours worked and the job descriptions of the people. Right. Right. Okay, Time magazine found that in 147 out of 100 of the 50 biggest cities in the United States, women actually make on average 8% more than men. If they are single and childless and they're out of college and they have the same job description and work the same number of hours, they make more than men. You know, on college campuses, this idea that women are victimized, as a general matter is silly. Okay, 55% of all college students are women. 58% of all graduate degrees go to women. This idea that women are marginalized in the electorate, 54% of the electorate in the last election cycle was female. So if the patriarchy is winning, I'm just wondering why it is that they are the minority. And as far as the rape culture statistics, this idea that 1 in 4 women on campus are raped, rape is, as I've said many times in many settings, rape is, in my mind, the gravest evil, maybe graver than murder. I believe that rapists should be castrated or killed. Okay, I think that rape should be treated as... Non-consensual sex is the greatest crime that you can commit against another human being. It's a crime not against their body only, but also against their soul and their value as a human being. That statistic is still a bunch of crap, okay? Not 1 in 4 women on campus are raped. If they were, your parents would be insane to send you here. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I cannot imagine going, you know what? My daughter really wants her degree in poli-sci, but there's a 1 in 4 chance she'll be raped if I send her to that institution. So let's calculate the values here. Poli-sci degree, raped. Okay, no one would do that because it's just silly. The real statistic, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, from 1995 to 2002, there were 6 rapes per 1,000 per year on college campuses, which is lower than it is in the general population, actually. Okay, 6 per 1,000 is not the same, you may notice. For all the stats majors in the room, all the math majors in the room, 6 per 1,000 is not the same as 250 per 1,000. You know where that 250 statistic came from, that 1 in 4 statistic? It came from an opt-in survey where they asked women, have you ever been sexually assaulted? But they included in the definition of sexual assault things that we're not fond of but aren't rape. Things like, did someone try to kiss you against your will? Did someone touch you without your permission? Okay, I'm shocked that it's 1 in 4. I'm shocked it's not 9 in 10. I mean, how many times has a girl been on a date and a guy's gone in for a kiss and the girl's turned her cheek? Okay, the survey covers that. Hey, how about if you're LGBT, the idea that you're a victim in American society if you're LGBT? Well, the fact is that gay couples earn significantly more than straight couples in the United States. Men in gay couples make slightly less than men in straight couples, but women in gay couples earn a lot more than women in gay couples. Same-sex couples with both partners in the labor force make $8,000 more per year than straight couples. They're also typically higher educated. 46% of people in same-sex couples have college degrees. Only 1/3 of people in straight couples have college degrees. How about the idea that if you're in the United States, you're impoverished because of injustice, inequality, and privilege, and all the rest of this? Income inequality is actually not a huge problem in the United States. Okay, nobody rich is making you poor. The stupidity of the income inequality argument is the idea that just because I make a lot of money, I'm stealing it from you. I don't care about you. I've never taken anything from you. I will never take anything from you. In order for you to give me something, I'm going to have to give you a service in return. As I've said before, capitalism is about consent. Socialism is about non-consent. Capitalism is consensual sex and socialism is rape. Socialism is you get to take my crap. You get to take my stuff because you feel entitled to it. As far as this idea of the middle class in the United States is disappearing, we're all going to die, it's awful, it's awful, it's awful. Okay, the upper middle class grew from 12% of Americans in 1979 to 30% in 2014. When people say the disappearing middle class, what they really mean is the middle class became the upper middle class. That's what actually happened. Okay, and income mobility in the United States, it's not dying, it's not dead, it's exactly the same as European countries with far more redistribution. Income mobility declines only when you drop out of high school or have a baby out of wedlock. So back to our original argument about poverty. Here's Pew Research on the levels of poverty in the United States, right? This grand conspiracy of poverty in the United States. 9 in 10 Americans had a standard of living that was above the global middle income standard. It means that 9 in 10 Americans are rich by global standards. 7% of people in the U.S. were middle income, 3% low income, 2% poor. So 2% of people in the entire country, a country of 320 million people, 2% of those people are living in what anything would resemble global poverty. Here's the problem with all this stuff. When you say that America's out to get this group or that because you're a member of this group or that group, you get to shut other people down, you get to tell them to shut up, you get to act violent, you're dividing Americans and you're destroying the country. You're destroying the social fabric. If we don't have social fabric, we can't have conversations. You can't ask questions. I can't give you answers. Right? We can't talk with each other. We can't vote together. We cannot have a civil society without the social fabric that assumes that we play by the same rules. And when you make the case, not only do we not play by the same rules, but the rules should only apply to you and not to me, right? I should be able to do whatever I want because I'm a member of a victim group. You destroy that social fabric. And talk about discrimination doesn't make the social fabric better, not when the discrimination is phantom. It doesn't make the social fabric better. Example, in 2010, 13% of Americans worried about race relations. After 6 long years of talk about how race relations were down the toilet and Black Lives Matter and cops are shooting people and the lie of hands up, don't shoot and the rest of it, 35% of Americans were worried about race relations just 6 years later. Did that fix things? Did that awareness make things better? Not at all. In 2007, the wage gap between blacks and whites was 24%. In 2015, the wage gap between blacks and whites was 27%. So all that awareness didn't do a damn thing. Because it turns out that awareness isn't the problem. It turns out that in many cases, behavior is the problem. And if we have to change the laws, we'll change the laws. But stop pretending that this is about some shadowy conspiracy out to get you, because it isn't. In fact, according to Northwestern University study, perception of discrimination led to lower grades, less academic motivation, less persistence when encountering an academic challenge. You want to know why you couldn't study for your class? It wasn't because of me. It's because your teachers keep telling you no matter how you study, no matter what grades you get, you are bound to fail in American society. That's doing you a hell of a lot more damage than me standing up here telling you you can do it. You can control your own destiny. So here's the bottom line. Your life is in your hands. You can do whatever you want. This is America. No one cares. Do what you want. Fly. Let your freak flag fly. No one cares. Do whatever it is that you want to do. No one is out there to stop you. And I'll tell you what, if someone is out there to stop you, and you can show me evidence, and you can show any of us evidence, that person is out there to stop you for any discriminatory reason at all, we will all stand with you. We will. We all want to be on the same side of this thing. What tears us apart is when you immediately assume, when people immediately assume that just because my skin color is different than yours or my religion is different than yours, I must have an agenda that is adversarial to yours and I want to destroy you. I don't. What I want is a country where we can all be free, where you don't have to care what I think and I don't have to care what you think, because we're all leaving each other alone, and all we care about is the maintenance of that freedom that was guaranteed to us by those evil white founding fathers who constructed the greatest system in the history of humankind. Thanks so much. Happy to take your questions. All going to lose their jobs. Okay, we never could, like, there are certain things that we never would have imagined as jobs that are now full sectors of the economy. Like 40 years ago, if you wanted a cup of coffee, you went to a diner and got a cup of coffee for 5 cents. And now you have an entire massive industry dedicated to specializing in making you precisely your type of coffee. So until they make the replicator from Star Trek, that's the machine that makes other machines and magically makes all items they don't have a price and and they're all free. Once that happens, then universal basic income probably isn't even necessary. I mean, if you can actually just create everything with machines and everything is extraordinarily cheap, the price of everything drops near zero, and you don't need much income to live on. So there's that. I don't think we're there in the economy yet. I also don't think we're there in the economy to the point where all jobs have disappeared. The job trends have kept up with the technological trends. It's not like everybody is now out of work because the technology has gotten so good.
Right, and that may be true, but like let's just take the short term for example. Like the rising possibility of automation in driving, for example, which is really soon.
So put Uber out of business.
And that will put approximately like 40%, because 40% of America is currently employed in the transportation industries.
Right.
Like, that would cause, like at the very least, a very large displacement in terms of jobs.
For sure.
Would a solution that then to be like a possibility of